Hello everyone, I'm Sophia from Fairlighttarot Tarot. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the second episode of pairings between Oracle decks and Tarot decks. Today we're going to have a look at tarot decks that will pair well with the Modern Nirvana Oracle by Jennifer Sodini. This oracle came to my collection, I'm gonna say maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it hasn't left my desk since. It's just one of my favorite oracles. It is very special and let me show you why. So today we're going to start with pairing this oracle with the Savvy Soul Tarot by Julie Whitledge. As always, sorry if I mispronounce the names. This tarot deck is very sought after. Lately, I've received a lot of inquiries on where to find it. I'm sorry, I actually don't know. I backed the Kickstarter and I tried to Google it and I tried to find, where to source it, but apparently the creator for the time being does not ship overseas. So if you're based in the US, you can contact her directly, and I will put in the description box below, I will put her profile. I will put a link to her profile in the Kickstarter website. But I do believe that for now, at least, she has no intention of shipping overseas, which is it's very sad because I do understand. I don't live in the US, so for me it's the same problem whenever a creator doesn't ship their decks overseas. It's we have to use parcel collect services, PO boxes and stuff like that, and it becomes more expensive because of paying double shipping costs. I would say for this tarot deck, however, it is definitely worth it. It is an incredibly beautiful tarot. It's modern, like the Modern Nirvana is modern, and it has a lot of soul, and that says so in the name as well. So let's have a look at how these two pair together. As you can see, the tarot deck is a photographic collage type of deck, whereas the Modern Nirvana isn't, and where there can be some correspondences related to colors, for example, and the line work may recall some of the photos in the tarot. I would say that generally speaking, they do not share the same style. However, I have found that using them together, especially thanks to the nature of the Modern Nirvana Oracle, which is very evocative, tends to bring out a lot more in the tarot cards as well. So we got protection between the World and the Five of Swords. Certainly protection refer to the wholeness of the world that will serve to create some boundaries in a situation in which there is a predominance. And this predominance is establishing an unfair advantage in the situation. Partnership between Strength and the Ten of Coins. Use this collaboration that you have at hand, forge this new partnership in order to achieve abundance. As you can see, the Modern Nirvana Oracle has got a lot of cards that are referred to as sigils. The sigils have a kind of a lovely art style. As you can see, they're all more or less similar, and the keywords are very good to establish a bond with the sigil itself and the concept that is expressed with this card. So Nirvana between the Hangman and the Six of Swords. Change your perspective in order to achieve that state of bliss, even though for the time being you're still required to go through some difficult moment of change. Maktub between the Hierophant and the Eight of Cups. The guidebook of the Modern Nirvana Oracle is very, very good. Reciprocity between the Ace of Cups and the Ten of Swords. Transcendence between the Ten of Wands and the Nine of Cups. I like the way, see, there is something very specific when it comes to the gray characters in the Soul Tarot. And the author explained that she chose to gray out or desaturate the figures in the cards because she wants them to be like a clean slate, so a gray clean slate, in such a way that they can be filled in with the colors of experience that may be given by the reader ourselves. And I like the fact that this kind of a resonance between these figures that gets progressively larger, but it's also changing and shifting in colors. So it indicates the transcendence, so the movement of transformation of the transcendence. But it's a transformation that starts from a figure and then it becomes something else because it goes beyond that original mold. I like to think that this is the same way the author of the Soul Tarot envisioned the grey figures of the tarot cards as well. Direction between the Two of Cups and the Five of Cups. Always be mindful of where you're going, have a direction in common, have a purpose in common in order to avoid a loss. A loss that can also be felt when the other person doesn't share the same kind of objectives and goals. I believe that because it's in the suit of the mind, the Five of Cups is also to refer to not just the crying over the spilled milk, which is quite literal in this card, but it's also the kind of loss that it's painful for us because sometimes we realize that the other person is not on the same page. Kindness between Death and the Four of Swords. Embrace this transformation you're going through and the period of rest and of stillness that you need in order to achieve the kind of transcendence that we've seen before. Friction between the Six of Coins and the Fool. Greatness between the Five of Wands and the Seven of Swords. Both between the Seven of Coins and the Nine of Swords. This is my favorite card of this oracle, by the way. The booklet is lovely when it describes the situation. So as you can see, this person is standing on a very flimsy looking boat on very choppy waters, and the sun has been covered because there's an eclipse, and on top of everything there's clouds and it's raining. And she looks like she's kind of, I'm saying she, but it can be any kind of gender. They're balancing on this boat and they're trying to just, you know, stand up and stand their ground. And I think it's a wonderful message behind this card that says that hang in there because the storm will pass. It will pass eventually. And this is really beautiful because it says it's like you're taking a break, you worked so hard, you're taking a break and you're looking at what you've done and you're assessing whether you've taken the right direction or not. And you're also looking back and looking at all the storms you've been through. And you're kind of worried, you're kind of, you feel this anxiety mounting because you don't really know. You've done so much, but you don't really know whether you're actually going in the right direction. But this card is telling you, worry not, because sooner or later this storm will pass. And I think that this kind of message resonates for a lot of us, certainly does for me. And it's a way to show that no matter what we've been through, there's always an end to that kind of uncertainty. The Philosopher's Stone, another sigil, and the Ten of Cups and Judgment. nourishment between the Ace of Coins and the Nine of Wands. Perhaps you do need this kind of return to nature concept that is expressed by the Ace of Coins, because you've been depleted. You are resilient for sure, but you do need to recharge your batteries before proceeding in your quest. One between the Two of Wands and the Sun. Weightlessness between the Three of Coins and the King of Cups. Awareness between the Seven of Wands and the Three of Cups. And the last one, initiation between the Tower and the Page of Cups. So these two, I think these two pair really well together, but I would love to hear your opinion. So please, if you feel like you enjoyed this pairing, let me, or if you think that it doesn't really go, for sure, let me know in the comments below. The next deck that I'm going to pair with the Modern Nirvana Oracle is the Curious Travels Tarot deck by RCR. This deck is incredibly beautiful. As I've said before a couple of times, I really did my best to find an indie copy. This deck has been picked up by Hay House, I think, if I'm not wrong, to be published mass market. But I really wanted an indie copy because, well, first of all, you never know what's going to happen in the mass market production. They might come up with different kind of borders, they might come up with different kind of titles. As you can see, this one has got, it's difficult to see on camera, but when you see the gold color in here, it's actually, it looks like it's foil. So it's reflecting the light. It's really beautiful. Now, it's a matte kind of foil, not a glossy one. And I didn't know whether it was going to be replicated in the mass market or not, so I thought, you know, I better grab the indie edition first and then we'll see. I think these two share a lot more than the Sevisol, because the artwork and the light work might be quite similar, and there's a sort of resonance between the colors as well. But let's have a look. So we've got connection between the Travelers and the Five of Wands. Make sure to establish that connections in order to avoid discordance. The Travelers, as you can see, is an extra card in the tarot of the Curious Travels, and I really love the fact that there is a balance because they're working together, but only just. It looks to me like they are soon to maybe drop the objects that they're holding, and there's going to be some pillow fight soon. So it feels like there is to be the connection that they had at the beginning, that it might break down, it needs to be reactivated. Gratitude between the Page of Cups and the Eight of Cups. Abundance between the Ace of Cups and the Ten of Cups. That's definitely resonating here. The message of abundance in the Ten of Cups is also on the focal point brought by the Oracle. The color palette is very similar, as I was saying before. Deja vu between the Knight of Coins and the Four of Cups. Discernment between the Queen of Cups and the King of Swords. Emptiness between the Hangman and the Seven of Wands. Compassion between Death and the Emperor. Perhaps the Emperor needs to learn the lesson. Sometimes we do have this kind of archetype in which the figure in power has forgotten. It's all about leadership, and it's all about re-establishing the kind of order after the chaos, but in doing so they have forgotten about compassion. And so it kind of reminds the Emperor to do that kind of further step after the transformation and re-establish that kind of connection with the citizen, with the compassion that it's needed. Prism between the Queen of Swords and the Three of Wands. For me, Prism is the card about seeing all the angles that reflect the light, and the way in which looking at an angle or a different angle, therefore adopting a different perspective, can make you see different colors. And I think that it is something that is definitely needed by the Queen of Swords, which is the archetype of the judge. It's the person that accepts no BS. It's the person that cannot be lied to, because they will immediately find out. However, sometimes when seen in the shadow, this can become a person devoid of feelings. Therefore, perhaps the change of light could make it so that embracing the plans, embracing the journey which we need to embark upon, can be of a greater exit, or greater result, or greater success. Kintsugi between the Sun and the Chariot. That's amazing, because so Kintsugi is the art of putting back together something that is broken in such a way that it's a new object, and it's actually more beautiful. What they do, generally speaking, you'll see it in teacups, for example, tea bowls or rice bowls, and the glue that holds the pieces together is actually gold. And this way, the new object is containing in the same essence the brokenness, if that's even a word, the breakage, but I like the word brokenness, whether it exists or not, because it includes the word broken, which sometimes can also refer to how we feel. So when it's put back together, it is more beautiful, but it's still broken. However, it has the same function as the object that it was before being broken. I love the fact that it's between the Sun and the Chariot. It's very spiritual when we have two major arcanas in the same spread, especially, you know, when it's only two tarot cards and both of them are major arcanas. Also, I like the fact that Kintsugi looks a lot like the gold that we see in some of the cards of the Akira's Travel. Just a thought. So the Queen of Pentacles, mask between the Queen of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles. That's interesting, because I would never see the Queen of Pentacles as someone who is wearing a mask. Perhaps she has gotten rid of the mask. The character in this photo is actually releasing, although it could also be wearing it. But it's an interesting perspective. This archetype, this person has become the healer, the nurturer, after leaving, maybe presenting themselves with their true face and achieving that kind of abundance that they were after. The next step will be to share it then with the Ten of Pentacles. So modern between the Knight of Swords and the Five of Swords. We got another sigil square in the circle between the Hermit and the Ace of Swords. We got perception between the Page of Wands and the Three of Pentacles. There's such a beautiful concept behind the card of perception here. The way I see it, the tears that are collected by the shell make it so that this branch of orchid, that's an orchid, receives the nourishment that it needs. In a way, this can be seen as a kind of cooperation and teamwork that you see in the Three of Pentacles. Forgiveness between the lovers and the Seven of Pentacles. Even here, I really like the duality of the forgiveness, which is represented by jumping, leaping from one rock or boulder to another, which represents also the duality of the card of the lovers. And the Seven of Pentacles can refer to the fact that we also need to take a break at a certain point during our work, during the process that we're doing, because we need to see whether we're actually in the right direction, we're going in the right direction. Know thyself between the High Priestess and the Knight of Wands. I love this Knight of Wands. Such a fiery energy. It's beautiful. Know thyself and the High Priestess is a perfect combination, I think. What card expresses more the concept of knowing ourselves than the High Priestess? Reconnect to the fiery energy of the Knight of Wands. Synthesis between the Two of Cups and the Nine of Cups. And the last one, resistance between the Page of Pentacles and the Eight of Wands. So this was a pairing between the Modern Nirvana Oracle and the Curious Travels Tarot by Aracia. And the next deck that I'm going to pair with the Modern Nirvana Oracle is the Radiant Wilds Tarot by Nat Gersberger. It's a mass market deck, and I don't see it a lot. I don't know why, because it's actually really beautiful. It's been published by Rock Bull not that long ago, or maybe I'm gonna say 6-7 months. It's from 2022. It does have that kind of gilding that chips very easily, I'm afraid, and it's not exactly gentle on your fingers, but the artwork is absolutely gorgeous, and it's got the kind of fiery energy, very similar, for example, to the Serpent Fire. But let's see how it pairs with the Modern Nirvana Oracle. I'm not sure 100% about this one, because the color palette, it's a bit of a hit and miss in this kind of combo. Because this one is very similar throughout the whole deck, whereas in some cards you will find the same vibrant colors of the tarot, but not all the cards. So I'm kind of interested to see, although I can already see that some elements are connected. But so let's see, resistance between the Ace of Pentacles and the Four of Cups. Intention between the Five of Cups and the Five of Pentacles. It's interesting that intention is between two disruptive cards. I read numerologically, therefore the fives are the disruption, the necessary disruption that comes after the stagnation of the four. So perhaps the disruption, in this case the disruption is even more necessary because it's set by intention. Strength with the Sun and the Devil. It seems to look, the directionality of the card is very important sometimes as well. It seems to say that this character is looking at the Sun, and it looks like it's trying to channel the strength that is in the Sun card in order to face the Devil. But for the time being, it's avoiding looking at the Devil, which ironically shows a snake looking in a completely different direction as well. Then we've got liberation between the Five of Swords and the Moon. Authentic expression between the Six of Cups and the Nine of Cups. In this case, I really like how the cohesion, the connection between these two decks is not necessarily in the meaning of the deck, of the cards, but it is kind of established by the elements on the cards. To me, it's authentic expression with the card that has a mirror. Signifies that you need to return to your true self, and I like the fact that the mirror has got, instead of having an image of the person looking into it, it's actually looking out toward outside, and it shows a blue sky with a few clouds. But these clouds, if you're familiar with the cloud formation, these clouds are actually clouds of good weather, so it's not, they're not charged with precipitation or anything. Involution between the Star and the Four of Pentacles. It looks as if this healing that has come to you is not been nurtured enough, and it's kind of evolving and transforming itself into this greed, this need for to keep everything close to our chest. Harmony between the Six of Wands and the Two of Pentacles. I feel like all the sigil cards are together now. I should have probably shuffled the deck. So equanimity between the Nine of Swords and the Eight of Cups. If the situation you're in is giving you so much worry, so much anxiety, if it's waking you up at 2 a.m, if you see that you're not treated the way you should be, then, with the equanimity that you should receive, then it's time to go. I really like this card because I don't know if it's just me, but this figure looks so much like Charlie Chaplin. And I like the fact that it's leaving, it's walking on the path outside, and it's in the outer space because you can see the earth here. Resolution between the Ace of Wands and the Queen of Cups. Reflection between the Four of Swords and the Seven of Swords. Ecstasy between the Queen of Wands and the Emperor. I really like the fact that I know that these are two different birds, because, well, this one is a bird of paradise, I believe. Not sure about the actual name, and this is an owl. But I like the fact that this bird in ecstasy has its wings wide open, whereas in the Emperor there is not that kind of enthusiasm, because the Emperor is all about keeping the order, and sometimes they just overlook their own needs. This looks like an Emperor which has done so much that he or she or they have probably forgotten how to have that kind of enthusiasm or ecstasy, and therefore their wings are closed. Teachers between the Ace of Cups and the Three of Swords, and the last one, the Rose of Phoenix between the Hierophant and the Tower. So this was a pairing between the Modern Nirvana Oracle and the Radiant Wilds Tarot by Nat Giesberger. The next star we're going to see paired with the Modern Nirvana Oracle is the Star Seeker Tarot by Nikki Ferrada. So we had this card already, so let's move to the next one. I like the fact that the borders are very similar. I like the They don't necessarily have the same color because the Modern Nirvana is a kind of an eggshell kind of white, whereas the Star Seeker has a like a cooler kind of white, if that makes sense. But they almost have the same thickness, which it's one of the details that you look at when you do these kind of pairings and you're evaluating the aesthetics of how two decks go together. Definitely the fact that they have a similar kind of border, it's not a must-have, but it helps. So we've got assertiveness between the Star and the Two of Cups. Be yourself in a relationship. Emotions between the Justice and Page of Cups. Gratitude between the Seven of Cups and the Ace of Wands. I really love the fact that there are these kind of rays radiating from the central figure in this card and in this card as well. So it's all a matter of seeking resonances, seeking echoes, what I call echoes. Generally speaking, echoes are the presence of more than one card pointing to the same archetype in a reading in one single spread. And that reflects the fact that the same person, for example, can be seen in two different situations. Sometimes you have an echo when you see a person maturing, so going, for example, from a Page of Cups to the King of Cups. Other times it's the situation itself that is evolving, but it's the same situation. And it depends on the fact that you only have one Page of Cups and one King of Cups, for example. If someone starts their journey one way and they finish the other, they need to show the spread will show you this progression. So the same way I read the pairings in the cards between an oracle and a tarot is I look for these kind of details, the resonance between the colors, for example, the similarities to be seen there, and why is that? Why do the cards have these kind of similarities in the colors? Do they want to show something? Are they pointing at something that is interesting for me to notice, to see? Don't forget that cards speak to you, but you need to listen. That's the most important lesson that I can give you after 35 years of reading tarot. Is that if you don't listen, I've seen so many people reading cards with the best intentions, absolutely. But sometimes there are pairings, sometimes there's directionality, sometimes there's literally cards that face each other and they don't make the connection, or sometimes there are cards that face completely the opposite way and they don't notice the disconnection. These kind of things don't come to you because you know the system, they come to you because you practice. And I was having this discussion with friends of mine the other day. It's not about intuition, or rather it is, but intuition comes to you after you practice long enough to be ready to listen. So first know the systems, and then you can also follow your guts. For example, in this case, we got greatness between the Fool and the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands is a card of resilience. It's the card of one against the others. It's the card of standing your ground, sticking to your guns. And it may eventually lead, or it may come from greatness. It can be the fall of the hero. But the fact that there's a Fool here for me, and the fact that the greatness looks at the Fool, and the Fool looks outside of the frame, for example, means to me that the situation has started as a situation in which the person was standing their own ground, but the recommendation, the advice is to actually step away. Get out of that situation and start a completely new adventure with a renewed perspective. And these kind of things are not necessarily related in the system, in the cards, but when you start noticing these kind of details, they become very important. So the friction between the Ace of Cups and the Two of Pentacles. I think these two decks are very, very good together. They're very evocative. They give out the kind of vibes that give you a lot of inspiration for to talk about the cards themselves. So let's have a look at the last one. So kindness between the Hanged One and the Four of Pentacles. So this was a pairing with the Starseeker Tarot by Nikki Ferrella. And the next deck I'm going to pair with, as you can see, is the Infinity edition of the Holy Spectrum. And you can see everything reflected on it, even my camera. This deck has been seen a lot in any social media platform because of this effect, which is quite spectacular, if I may say. But don't get distracted by the mirror effect of the backs and the gilding, because the cards are actually incredibly beautiful as well. There is a change in the cards, not necessarily the artwork itself, which is mostly the same as the original edition of the Holy Spectrum, but for what concerns the colors, they are a lot more vibrant. There's not just when it comes to saturation, but when it comes to hue as well, which makes it to me, it makes it a completely different deck. And I had the discussion with a few of my fellow tarot lovers, and everyone is asking me, which one should I get? Should I get the original one or should I get this one? And I can't really tell, because they have different vibes. It's not the same deck in different colors. The fact that there are these kind of subtle and not so subtle changes make them two completely different decks that you actually read in completely different ways. Or not completely different, because the cards are the same, the chariot is the chariot, but what I mean is that it gives you different feelings when reading. Now, I thought, for example, that I will show you the difference, because this one actually pairs well with the Modern Nirvana, whereas I would never feel like pairing the original version of this tarot with the Modern Nirvana, which is kind of funny. But anyway, so direction between death and the chariot, but direction and the chariot are obviously two reinforcing cards. Transcendence between strength and the Fool. Again, look at directionality. It's just a new adventure that is beginning, needs to have a transcendence, needs to have this kind of change, this maturing between the initial stage and the last one. And it will need all the strength that you can have, that you can find. Reciprocity between the Two of Swords and the Three of Wands. Two between the Page of Swords and the Three of Pentacles. Nirvana between the Emperor and the Six of Wands. I don't remember if Nirvana came with the Emperor in a different pairing. Maybe not. Maybe I'm confused. Partnership between the Tethered One and the Nine of Coins. Awareness between Justice and the Eight of Coins. Be aware of all that is happening behind the scenes. So if there's something that requires a decision behind the scenes, be aware of it. Look at it, observe it, see? So that you can actually concentrate your work where it needs to be concentrated. Initiation between the Seven of Wands and the Star. I really like the contrasting in colors. I know that because the Holy Spectrum doesn't have borders, sometimes you can have a bit of a wall. You know, there's not a complete flow between the cards and the tarot and the oracle, because the oracle does have borders, but it can also give you pause, and you can let you observe the 3 cards as singular cards, and then you can glue them back together in the meaning. So connection between the Hermit and the 6 of Pentacles. Gratitude between the Hierophant and the Empress. Emotions between the 9 of Cups and the 10 of Cups. There's such a beautiful message here, because what always strikes me is the fact that the figure in the 9 of Cups, generally speaking, in any RWS at least deck, is by themselves. And the suit of cups is the suit of the emotions. So having that reinforced by the card of the emotions in the oracle, it seems to me like it's an invitation for you to experience the emotion of fulfillment in order to share that with the community. Assertiveness between the Knight of Cups and the 8 of Swords. The Rose Phoenix between the 8 of Cups and the Tower. Teachers between the 5 of Cups and the 10 of Pentacles. Emptiness between the 6 of Cups and the Lovers. I really like the indication that the memories you're looking back to in order to feel better, the memories that of a happier and healthier time are empty if you don't make a choice. If you don't share them with someone else, if you don't make a choice, if you don't activate yourself or the part of yourself that has been behind the scenes until now. So don't get stuck in, yes, it's very easy whenever we go through some times of struggle to remember times in which everything was going well, and we just kind of keep on dreaming of those times. But if we get stuck, these memories are completely empty. They don't bring anything new. And so we really need to make this kind of choice. Discernment between the Page of Cups and the Queen of Wands. Deja vu between the 7 of Pentacles and the Magician. And the last one, abundance between the 10 of Swords and the 5 of Pentacles. So this last deck was the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum Infinity Edition. So I thought about showing this pairing with just one more deck, and it's a deck that is very recent, entered in my collection. It's the Sacred Web Tarot, and it's been written by Jenny Brown and illustrated by James Brown IV. I think it's mother and son, but don't quote me on that, I might be wrong. I got it because I'm always very interested in in the brain, basically, behavioral sciences, and I might be wrong, but I believe that James Brown has sustained some injuries during an accident, brain injuries during an accident, and or it may have been a stroke, but I'm sorry, I should have actually checked. But I just thought about pairing these two together at the last moment. And this deck is the result of the cooperation between the mother and the son. Okay, so I want to do this right. So I'm just going to read a brief excerpt from the book, the guidebook. So in January of 2019, a year and a half after suffering a serious traumatic brain injury, my son James drew what we named Release, the 13th card in a major arcana traditionally called Death. Although many find it to be challenging, even scary, I have always loved the Death card. I relish imagining the possibility that awaits me when I truly let go of something that does not serve. Holding the image of release, however, I realized that death had become a painful companion for my son. He had watched part of his 20s wither away while he worked to recuperate. I could not change this. I had to surrender any sense that I could fix James, take his pain and carry it for him. All I could do was hold a loving space for him, for I understood that only he could restore his life to himself. That's such a beautiful, beautiful message from a loving mother to a son. And I believe that then together they cooperated in the realization of this deck. And it's to me, it's an incredible tale of achievement, an incredible tale of overcoming a dire situation, a painful one as it is. So let's have a look at how these two pair. So we've got abundance with the 3 of feathers and the 2 of pentacles. So we got forgiveness between the Emperor and the 3 of fire. So this tarot uses elements for the suits, which is honestly, I appreciate that, because it wouldn't be as easy for me to recognize I saw flowers. I would have thought the flowers, because in nature, could have been earth, but actually it's water, because it's a lotus flower, which is obviously referring to water. So perception between the 4 of fire and the source of earth. I think the artwork pairs up really well, and I also like the fact that some cards of the tarot have a white background and some other cards have a black background. So there's a stark contrast between the minimalist style and the vibrancy of the elements and the symbols that come out of the cards, which reminds me a lot of the style in the Oracle deck. So the squaring the circle between the Seer of water and the 7 of fire. Oh, there's a koala. Modern between the 2 of feathers or air and the source of water. When it comes to the vibes of these two decks, I have to be honest, I haven't really worked a lot with the Sacred Web Tarot, therefore I don't really have a connection. I haven't established a bond with it yet. I do like where this is going. I do like what the cards are showing me, so I might want to work with this tarot deck a bit more to understand how it feels to read with it. But I really like this combination. I think that aesthetically, at least, that's what I can cover for today. Aesthetically, they pair quite well together. See, I should have actually had a look at this tarot before doing the pairing, but I saw it on the shelf. I was like, I wonder how they look together. Liberation between the 5 of water and the 6 of fire. And the last one, we've got strength between the student of earth and the fool. That's beautiful. So this is the second episode of my Tarot and Oracle combos video or pairings video. If you like it, please consider subscribing to my channel. More to come. Have a great day.